My name's Billy Reeves. Welcome to the Kscope podcast 184. In this edition, everyone's favourite Norwegian pop group Gazpacho, the new album, after a 5-year wait, is entitled Magic 8 Ball, out for Halloween. Sparkle vinyl, black vinyl, CD digipack, a concept album as one would expect from the Gazpachians about fate, how it sneaks up on us without warning. Is the universe fair if you wait long enough? So, Thomas Andersen, the man to speak to. Why has it been so long? What's all this about this concept? Inspiration in the shower whilst naked. Have they got the best singer in the world? The original idea of the group, that's an extraordinary answer, that is. But after 30 odd years of being pals, how do they keep this group together? Thomas?
We love each other. I think the secret is because there's no money involved. Money is the big bad wolf, isn't it?
Interesting, because if you're still creating stuff together and you love each other, how can you do that without conflict? Creativity needs conflict, doesn't it?
It does, but I think we've learned how to navigate each other's ideas and how... I mean, you know that when you write a song, you're always deeply in love with the song. Whatever song you're working on is your new darling, isn't it? And then if I present something to the guys, like I do a lot of writing with Jan Henrik and John Arne, the guitar player and the singer. And if I give him something that I absolutely adore, then John is typically the kind of person that will say, yeah, it's great, man, but it's not doing it for me. And then I'll hate him for a few minutes, and then I'll realize that we all need someone that can help us, that can save us from ourselves. Because what you love right now might not be as great as you think it was. So we need someone to steer us back on course sometimes. I think we've learned, and we have a saying that we always use whenever two of us have made an idea and we're presented to the band, is that your heart will be totally broken. So we create something, we love it. We say, guys, listen to this magnificent masterpiece, probably the best thing ever made by anyone. And they'll say, nah, it's terrible. So we've learned to accept that when you make music, your heart will be not just broken, but it will be hideously smashed and destroyed and stamped on, and then they'll burn it afterwards. And when you accept that and you realize that that's probably a healthy part of the process, it gets easier.
That sounds so alien to my experience. If John Arne is the kind of guy that will be blunt with you, does it mean more if and when he says that is the best thing you've ever done?
It does. I like to think of him as the master of moods, because my issue is probably that I do so much stuff. I make radio jingles, I produce other people's albums, I play on other people's albums, as you know. So sometimes I make something that's not quite fit for Gazpacho albums that tend to be more moody and dark or whatever. If it doesn't do anything for him mood-wise, he'll definitely let me know, and I will drop it, and I'll be grateful that someone stopped it.
Is he the gatekeeper then, John Arne?
I would say he is. He's a gatekeeper, and he has a natural reaction to songs. So if something's technically great, or if it's even... sometimes a song can be technically, it just is catchy. There's no debate. This is a catchy tune. But he'll just say, yep, really catchy, but it's not doing it. It's dropped. So he's a much needed part of the process.
What do you mean when you're talking about the emotions of it then? How can you gauge his emotions? If he's saying it's not doing it for me on an emotional level, how on earth do you provide him with something that relates to him on an emotional level? That sounds impossible.
Well, try again. You just try again. Music is luck. To me, it's always been luck. You sit down, you try to come up with something, you jam something out with someone, and if you're lucky, and you can catch something. And I think the trick is knowing when that moment happens. So you get something and you know it's good. It's like on our new album, there's a song called Magic 8 Ball, or it's called 8 Ball. And when Jan Henrik came up with a line that says it was your idea, that's when we knew that was a catchy thing. And we built the song around that. And then we built the lyric around that afterwards. And I think that's a great example of one of those moments where you know that this is good. So now we just try to squeeze whatever juice is in this lemon and see what can we get from this. And I think that's something that comes, you talk about we've been making albums for 30 years. I think that's something that you get with age and with experience.
If you're off to break a promise where the fabric of resolve, there's 1,000 ways to make it and 1,000,000 more to fold. And how do you tell a creditor you've never been this poor? Eerily familiar as he's knocking at your door. Hesitant walls tumble and turn on the life slide. Chance on your side, dot in the line, sign and the joke is on you now. Master of clowns, the fate and trace of who you are. Your idea, and now you wish upon a star. Your idea. Your idea. Beneath the blue horizon where the night and dreams collide, the bottle that you drank from hell, the corpse of Father Time. When you spill the ink and start to settle all your debts, the failure's gonna haunt you and a vacuum of intent. Fall to the ground, murder the joke, not the crown. Clown dancing around. Your finest suit can't hide the truth. This specter charts the empty room. Now it's never nothing linger. Don't you feel the news is tightening? The magic ball awake in the dark. But now the answer's fading.
Jan Henrik is probably, arguably, the best singer in the world. I think he's expressing himself in different ways on this record. There's a bit more bluesy stuff. There's a bit of an American accent on one. There is, there's one where he's down in his boots a little bit more rather than being angelic all the time. Am I right in thinking that Jan Henrik is probably the best singer in the world right now?
I don't think he may not be the best singer in the world, but I think he has something that's very special. And we've talked about this when he's not there. And it's strange because there seems as if there's something living in his soul. There's something living inside him that comes out when he sings. And I don't know if he controls it or if it just comes, but he's definitely a fantastic singer. And he's still, even after all these years and after all these hours in the studio with him and playing concerts, we still get the goosebumps. His voice doesn't seem to age the way some people's voices age. So I don't know what it is, but there's a tone to it.
Yeah, and I also think you make it difficult for him as well. I think if you're providing him with a series of chords, a series of ideas, which he then has to write a top line to, I think because you make it so difficult for him, he has to go there.
Yeah, we intentionally try. I mean, that's one of our jokes is trying to put him off. So we'll try to create difficult chord structures and unexpected timing and unexpected chords. And our process is usually he will come in and he refuses to listen to the instrumental that we provide.
Okay.
So he relies on luck. So he comes in and just starts singing, and then he hears a song for the first time, and in 30% of the finished songs, it's usually the melody is at least partly based on what he did on his first take.
So fate has a lot to do with the way you write songs then?
It does. As I said, I think music is luck. Composing music is an editorial thing where you get a lot of ideas, and as an editor, you need to choose what makes it through and what you continue working on. But the magic will always be accidental, I think.
Yeah. Does that mean that it takes a lot longer? I mean, it's 5 odd years in between albums. Does the fact that you own your own means of production, comrade, means that there is no... Because you're not sort of working against the clock like they used to do in the old days, how do you know when it's finished?
That's a great question. Of course, nothing is ever finished. I mean, you should know this when you're making your albums. You know that they could always be better.
Abandoned rather than finished.
Yeah, they're abandoned, and we, like all other bands and all other musicians, we always have the final version, and then we have the final version, and then we have this one is it. Seriously, man, this is the final version, and then we have the final version part 2, and it continues like that forever. And whenever you release the album. I never listen to any album that we've released. I can't listen to it for the first 2 or 3 years because all I hear are all the things that I would have changed and think are terrible. And I think everyone's like that when they release something. And then when I listen to something old, like even the first albums, I can't hear what the problem was. I mean, what the hell is this? It sounds great. You get obsessed, and the obsession with detail is always wrong anyway. Because no one's listening to this. No one's listening to the snare sound. No one's listening to all the little mistakes you made. Either the idea was there, and in some form it comes through, or you killed it. And hopefully we try to kill the songs that we kill by overworking. So we dropped some songs for this album because they just turned too. In one case, there was a song called "You Can't Turn the Tide," which just turned out to be too Beatlesy, and we dropped it because it didn't fit the album. We had the strength to cut it out because it wasn't making the grade for what this album was supposed to be about. Well,
you've conceptualized it using the title track. Explain to me how you did that and what the unifying theme of the record is.
Well, this morning I got up and I thought, I hope he doesn't ask that question. So then I got into a long shower, and then I realized what the album was about. It's a concept album about fate in a godless world. And by that I mean that we've removed God, haven't we? We live in the world of the scientific method. And when we removed God, we left an empty throne. And no throne ever stays empty. So we put chance in its place, because now if something bad happens to you, that was just your bad luck. Like your car crash, that was just bad luck. Or as the doctor said to my mother when she had her cancer diagnosis, they said it's just bad luck. Whereas back in the day, you would think it may have been karma or it may have been God's will. We've removed Daddy, haven't we? And with chance, we now say that everything only happens because of the throw of the dice, or in the case of this album, the shake of a magic 8-ball. We removed God and put a plastic toy on the empty throne. That was the idea of the album.
The thing is, though, God has only been around for a very short while in human existence. God was put there to bring order to what was apparently chaotic. So if we're now looking for order, where is the order?
Well, there is no order. There is only chance.
Right.
Scientific method will tell you that there's a cause and effect. But then with all the quantum stuff, then there is no cause and effect. We've painted ourselves into a corner. I think the scientific method was a great blessing and a great curse at the same time. And I think that in the case of this album, we had 8 different people with 8 different fates.
Yeah.
And that was the idea of the album, just to have 8 different shakes of the Magic 8 Ball. But then in the shower this morning, as I was talking about, I realized that all of these songs are about people who are trapped. So there's 8 different people trapped in a situation. And I had no idea that was what it was all about until my brain served me this at the end of this very long shower. I saw it through the steam, Billy. I saw it through the steam.
There's a sense of alienation and looking for answers a lot of the time in your songs. I think Starling is particularly interesting because in Welsh mythology, there is a story about a starling being a messenger. Obviously, the murmurations are incredibly magical because there's some order in the disorder there. Mozart had a starling as well. That's one of my favourite things that you've ever done, I think. Tell me a little bit about that song.
First of all, I had no idea. I had no idea about the mythology behind the actual bird starling. The reason that we use the bird starling is because it's such a light, small little bird. And the basic idea of the song is someone who thinks that love is conditional. So he or she thinks that if they expose their real self, the love of their partner will be gone. So there's a starling on your shoulder, but once you turn to face it, it'll fly away. You'll scare it away. So you're stuck, you're trapped in a situation where you're happy with the fact that you have someone's love, but you're scared that your terrible self will make it go away. That's the idea of the song.
Wow. In an English garden, a starling is considered to be one of the bigger birds, one of the bully birds as well. It has a kind of image in England that once the starlings are down there, there's usually more than one. For example, the smaller birds will fly away.
Well, that's amazing. That's great meat for the pot, isn't it? Because
that's its image in sort of English garden folklore.
Well, that's very cool. I think there's no bigger bully than conditional love.
Yeah.
When you think about it, that all makes sense. And is there even such a thing as conditional love? Isn't love unconditional? Isn't that what it is? Isn't that the definition of love?
She is gone. No one home. Aftermath is all there is. Map of the world with a million streets where a traveler can sleep. Oh, let us be reborn. Let us be reborn. they never try to run to free themselves again. Oh, let us be reborn. Let us be Starling on my shoulder. If I'm silent, she won't leave. That's how we hide, huddled inside. Feeding me seawater at midnight, half past then. Wondering when it begins, the house and the moonlight aftermath, the starlit sheets going somewhere away from me, into the past. See how she dressed
It's series I want to talk about as well. Are we talking about the? Is it an analogy of the celestial body, or the Roman goddess of agriculture?
The Roman goddess of agriculture. The idea is that we were trapped. Agriculture was a trap. Again, it's about we're trapped. So when we had the agricultural revolution, we thought this progress was the start of control, but I think it trapped us. So now we're stuck as slaves in capitalist society, aren't we? Or communist society, for that matter. We're stuck in modern life. So when we lost our natural state, we thought we planted roots, but the roots dragged us down with them. The God was not the God, but maybe it was a demon that pulled us into the ground, into the dirt.
Yeah, because as soon as we started putting fences around things and say, you own this, I own this, you've got to work for me.
Well, yeah, and I think from what I understand, I mean, no one knows, I think the start of agriculture 10,000 years ago maybe was the start of, as you say, property, and maybe bigger societies, and with that wars and power and leaders, and for that matter, organized religion. You earlier said that you thought religion might be new, but I'm thinking that the God we replaced is probably the older God, the one of the Stone Age, probably sun gods and whatever they had.
Yeah.
Because we, as you said,
yeah,
we always needed something to make sense of what we perceive as an absolute chaotic existence.
Yeah. Also, of course, that's why history, you're talking a little bit about history there. That's why history was invented, wasn't it? So to bring some apparent order to the past, but there is no order.
No, there is no order. So it's all random.
Series rising, steel and soil, springs to life, eyes like embers, a miserable truth, leaf and valley, honey, you, grain of truth, seeds for harvest, make them new. Though they
Did fate bring you and I together?
I think so, because I believe in fate. And I also think that there's a bigger meaning. I think that there's something funky going on that we have no idea. And I think that our ideas, I think both the scientific method and our religious worldviews, I don't think any of those are scratching the surface of anything. And I think the most important thing that we need to be is to try to be as open as possible about the fact that we know absolutely nothing at all. And I think anyone who's cocksure about anything are automatically wrong.
But what about free will? Isn't that the other reason that God and history was invented? I mean, morality was around before religion, but what about free will? Without God, without order, without society, then everyone would just go around murdering each other, won't they?
Well, I don't believe in free will. I read a couple of months ago, I read that whenever you make a decision, your deeper brain already decided, and then they just sort of come up with an explanation to you on why you decided to buy a blue car instead of a red car, or whatever it is that you did. So I don't think there's free will. I think we're controlled by our deeper instincts, and they just let the person who thinks they're in the pilot seat, which is the Billy or the Thomas, just think he's in control. But I think we're controlled by deeper instincts because of all the silly things we do. If we were in control, we would live perfectly healthy lives and do all the smart things, because we're sort of smart people, aren't we? At least we like to think so. So I don't think there's any free will at all. I think everything is predetermined.
Wow. What keeps you guys making music?
Because we're trying to make the same album. Every album we ever made was the attempt at making the same album all the time. The original idea for the band Gazpacho was to make a band to explore how would Marillion sound if they were a Latino band. And then we started making songs, and then they turned all serious, and then we thought, well, what the hell? We'll keep the name, but continue what we're doing. And we wanted to see what else could music be used for. Can we write songs about things that no one else is writing songs about? And that was the idea. Can we make an album that is a fantastic album that no one ever did? And, we never quite succeeded at that, because that would require us to be absolutely monumentally creative. And it's very difficult. But I think until we make it, we're still going to try as hard as we can.
Brilliant. Why has there been such a big gap between albums this time?
Because we made another album before we made this one. Once we finished our last album, Fireworker, we got to work on a new album, which was a concept album about a comet hitting Earth. And the idea was that people could see the comet approaching, and then how would everything change? A bit of a memento mori thing, which we tried to find a creative way of making an album about. And then fate threw a wrench in the system, because DiCaprio came out with that film on Netflix, which was called Don't Look Up, which was a film about a comet hitting Earth and everyone refusing to accept the fact that the comet was about to hit the Earth. And it was our exact story. And then we thought, we're going to come up with an album based on a Netflix film with Leonardo DiCaprio? That wasn't happening. And then, scarily enough, we thought, if someone else came up with that idea, maybe it wasn't such a great idea. So we scrapped the album, which was painful, by the way. That was absolute pain. But then we thought, all right, we'll try again and do another one. And then we started work on this one. And that's why it took so long.
Because fate got in the way.
Yeah, fate got in the way. So I wonder if fate really wanted this album to be made, or if fate really hated the idea of the Comet album, or whatever the hell was going on. But it was a kick in the...
Yeah, a kick in the coccyx.
Yes.
Also, you've not gigged for ages. Is there plans to take this out so we can see you in the flesh again? Yeah,
well, we're touring in April of next year, and back in business, and we've already started work on a new album, so we're back on the beat and back. We've had this surge of creativity. So we depend
Right.
on in this day where everything is an Instagram, a 5-second Instagram reel. We depend on someone sitting down, listening through a 3-minute intro before the guy even starts singing. And we depend on them listening to it 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times to get into it.
That's value for money.
I should hope so, but at the same time, we're alienating most, I would say, normal people, because if it doesn't strike you at once, it's boring, isn't it? I even look at myself, whenever I watch a YouTube video on anything, I'll automatically fast forward 1/3 into it to get to whatever I'm looking for in that video. But I'm asking everyone else not to do that with the Gazpacho songs. So it's sort of you've automatically lost, haven't you?
If you do that with a Gazpacho song, then goodness only knows where the needle will hit. It could be a heavy metal rock riff, or it could be something that sounds like Jean-Michel Jarre, all in the same piece.
Yeah, so it's weird that we're asking people to get into it, but for that reason, we try to give them all some time to get into the songs before we go play them live.
When I listen to a Gazpacho album for the first time, I kind of like the fact that I'm going to be surprised.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, that's the point of the whole thing.
Yeah. I also think that your as I've said many times before, when I first met you, your music is artful, it is serious, but when you guys are all in the same room, you're actually quite silly. And I think those two things combine. I think those two things combine quite nicely.
Yeah, I mean, like when I'm talking to you now and saying all the things I've been saying, I feel like such a pompous ass. Because
no, there's nothing wrong with that. No, there's nothing. See, there's nothing wrong with that either. I don't. Music is music. Pop music is serious art, and it should be considered to be so. I don't mind a bit of pomposity. I just think that you guys are bringing back the fun into being pretentious.
Oh no, we try to not take ourselves. I mean, we don't take ourselves seriously. We take our stuff seriously, but we're very silly guys, and we're not a bunch of turtleneck intellectuals who sit in cafes in Paris.
I note with interest that a guy called Thomas, is it pronounced Huth, has mixed this. Was that a necessary evil? Is that you had to kind of pass it over to someone and say, look, well, here are the ingredients to the cake. Can you make the cake, please?
If you're mixing your own album, then you get stuck on the wrong details. I remember when I was mixing one of our earlier albums and I heard the song, it was Billie Jean. Michael Jackson's Billie Jean. And I was so stuck on the snare sounds on the album I was working on that I listened to Billie Jean and I thought the shaker was too loud, and what a terrible mix. And I don't think you would meet anyone who would seriously say that Billie Jean is a terrible mix and the mix ruined the song's commercial potential. And it just shows that your mind goes into this. But now if you listen to Billie Jean, by the way, listen to the shaker. It is incredibly loud. But you never noticed it because you listen to the song. No one cares about the mix.
Yeah.
They care about the song.
Yeah.
So to try to keep the mind on the actual music for as long as humanly possible, we needed to stop thinking about the mix. So we handed over to Mr. Juth.
Yeah.
We let him set up the album. We traveled to Gothenburg and spent a weekend with him finalizing the tracks.
Wow.
And it just kept us in the songs instead of being in the mix, because once you start mixing, the creativity is gone, and the song is now work.
But how did you, particularly you, how did you cede control?
Because I knew that I would not be helping the song in any way whatsoever. I would be ruining the song. I'd be second guessing the song. I might change things. I might say, oh my God, this part, you mix 8 hours on a 20-second section of the song, and at some point you're thinking, this song is shit, I should cut this. I'll cut the entire song, what the hell, because this is terrible.
I think that's a good point. If you add too many colours into a bucket and stir it, it goes brown.
It does go brown, but maybe brown was what you wanted. So if you try to separate all the colours, so now the bucket is a little bit of a red section, a green section, a blue section, you may have lost, you may lose something. We grew into making these long concept albums where many of them had sections that were designed to bring you into an almost hypnotic trance, and that was fantastic, and many of those are well loved, and we love them all. We love every album, but we wanted to get a little bit back to songwriting and not being as self-indulgent as we may have been. So we want to make some noise. We wanted it to be louder. We wanted to have more energy than maybe some of the other ones, because we wanted to stir the pot and lay the groundwork so our next album can be even calmer and even more hypnotic and even longer. And we could be even more guilty of self-indulgence by having this one sort of prove that we're not dead, but we are, in fact, full of energy and full of life. And full of the juice, man. We're full of the juice.
Indeed. My huge thanks to Thomas Andersen. Magic 8 Ball, Gazpacho's brand new album, their first for 5 years. Catch them on tour next year, and some festivals are being planned as well. You heard Series, and before that Starling, and before that 8 Ball. Check out the video. My name's Billy Reeves. I'll be back with another Kscope podcast in the very near future, but I'm going to leave you with this, the final track from Gazpacho's Magic 8 Ball. This is entitled The Unrisen. Ta-ta.
I'll drift wherever the soft breeze blows eternal in the time out, riding on notes, the familiar floating in the ether, floors in twilight. I'll chase the rabbit and fox and follow both into the moonlight, dreaming on notes. Timeless sky, hide the memories of a world gone by. Sepia phases in the twilight zone, roam these moments of the unknown. Now you're an astronaut, lost in endless universe. Hey, within those lines are older days of others. I withhold the nameless white in glass of velvet green. Mystic, cryptic, secret whispers, let them be the dreamless sleep for you. Ooh, see how they drift in clouds, and see how they smile everywhere. High